Afghan Media's special report on the continued crisis in Afghanistan. I'm your host, Jennifer Rash, and joining me as co-host, Margaret Colson. Our guests today have a deep interest in caring for the Afghan people and can help us understand what is taking place as we near the 6-month mark of the Taliban takeover. Thank you all for joining us today.
Good to be here. Thank you.
All right, Dr. Morris, would you mind helping us with the introductions, including yourself?
Sure. Well, thank you, Jennifer and Margaret, for hosting us. And we're glad to come to you from Memphis. My name is Mark Morris. I am a professor at Union University. I work with many of our cross-cultural students that are coming here to study and those coming to study urban studies as well, and learning how to be Bible teachers and ministers of the gospel. I also lead Refugee Memphis, which is a partner of NAM's Send Relief Center here in Memphis that is in the process of opening soon. On my left is a dear brother, David Paiman, who is the pastor of the Afghan church. He is from one of the most oppressed minority groups in Afghanistan called the Hazara people. And interestingly enough, when he was about 2 years old, we didn't know each other, but I traveled through his village in the mountains of Afghanistan. And that was my first time to enter Afghanistan and pray over Afghanistan. And so many years later, it's great to get to be with David. And then Benafsha Shahy. She is a worker with Navigators Ministry, and she partners as a worker with Refugee Memphis, part of the Send Relief Center. And she also is the producer of the broadcasts that come from this studio that David is producing every week.
Well, fantastic. Well, thanks for taking time. I know you're all so busy. And Refugee Memphis, I think, will actually have a lot to do now, especially with the Afghan community. So if you want to, let's just start there. What all is happening related to refugees?
Yeah. Benafsha, you want to tell a little about what we're doing to get ready for the refugees? You want me to start? Okay, I'll start. Well, one of the things that has happened is that many of the refugee resettlement agencies have sort of reached a limit on the number of refugees that they're receiving. Samaritan's Purse has partnered with one of those groups and now is opening up the opportunity for churches all over the United States to agree to host and really, in essence, serve as refugee resettlement agencies. And so we as Refugee Memphis have said, hey, we'll take 100, and we expect to see 100 refugees. That may be a dozen, 15 families. We don't know how, there's large families, and they'll be coming to Memphis, we think, in the next 6 months. And we are, if we still survive that, then we'll be ready to take 100 more. We'll see. But we keep hearing of churches all over the United States that are doing the same thing and responding to God's calling. Mm-hmm. So Benafsha and some of our team have been getting housing ready. What have you been doing to get the houses ready and that sort of thing?
We went to a couple apartments and talked to them and asked if they have any available apartment for these refugees. And we got one, and then we are getting ready for a family coming next week. Mm-hmm. And we asked some churches to give us some donations about like furnitures, and also talking to a lot of churches and having a lot of volunteers to come and help us
yes.
with this work.
Exactly. And it's interesting that both of these, their families are refugees. Some of her family is in another country. They got out of Afghanistan safely, but they're still stuck. They're stuck in between, and we're praying, and she's been working diligently to help them get to a safe place. And David also the same thing. He's got family members and other Christian friends that are stuck. Before we started this conversation, we were just talking about two brothers in Christ that were just released from jail, and we're trying to assist them. So it's an ongoing crisis.
Well, since David and Benafsha both have personal experience as refugees, as churches and individual Christians reach out to minister to those coming to America as refugees, do you have some do's and don'ts on how to respond?
Are there some things that churches should do and should not do
Oh, yeah.
in helping? Suggestions?
Yeah, like it seems that many churches are wake up and they're really ready to help refugees. And that's really encouraging me. And even though last week we have been to a church visiting and they are really praying, and that church now is hosting one of our Afghan families. And the things that many church, they are like involved with the ministry and with the word delivery, with many kind of NGO, and which is some people, they have their own, some organization, they have their own guideline to not do this and do this, and that's is okay, but they still try to show their love and love the refugees, and which is very good. And the things should not do the church is like there is a culture cross culture sometime. And to be honest, sometimes an American, they try to just suddenly quickly change Afghan to American culture, which is very difficult for Afghans or for any refugees to change, because they got a culture shocks when they came here. The language is different, the country and everything, the culture is different, and we should just love them, and by loving and by relationship, by friendship, they will suggest to adjust to the country.
So you're saying take it in more small steps, get them here, get them settled, and love on them and make them comfortable and safe, and get that kind of sheltering and food and all established before throwing them into the next level. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yes, exactly.
And also adjusting in a new culture takes up to 2 years. And then sometimes it's for refugees coming here, it's a little bit overwhelming in the beginning too, because we get so excited to teach them everything, but then it's a lot for them. So it's better to take it a little slowly and then teach them, and just to go and be friends with them and show them how to do things in a right way.
Yes. On the refugeememphis.com website, we have 10 suggestions for hosting, 10 hints for hosting an Afghan family. And, there's issues such as gender issues. Men really relate to men and women relate to women. And we don't need to try to force them to change that kind of cultural norm. And we should expect that our Afghan friends are in general very conservative morally, and are maybe shocked by the way they see Americans dress or things they see on American television, and just so and also recognize that they each one has a story to tell, but embedded in that story is deep hurt. And so the story may not come out until you have many cups of tea. It requires many cups of tea and not asking too many questions, but just showing kindness. And they need to tell about their hurt. One of the churches that hosted one of the Afghans that recently arrived, they asked a simple question: how long was your journey? They expected maybe a 24-hour journey from overseas, but they said 3 months. And they just couldn't understand. 3 months? Yeah, from the time we got to the airport on August 15th, and we've been arrested by the Taliban twice, or we've been, it's been 3 months. And so, they have and now those that arrive, it'll be a 6-month journey.
Yes, for Afghans, 3 months journey is very short journey from Afghanistan to America. My journey was 8 years journey
8 years.
to come to.
Wow.
It took me 8 years to arrive to my destination.
I have to know more. Tell me about the 8 years.
Yeah, I've been refugee in India for 5.5 years, and then I moved from India to Indonesia. I was in Indonesia for 3 years, and then from Indonesia to Australia. I was in Australia for 4 years, and then I came got here in Memphis to serve the Lord.
Yeah. That's
And,
right.
and what does that mean? I'm sorry. Yeah. What does that mean exactly? I mean, are you living and immersing yourself in that culture during that time, or are you in some kind of waiting, holding pattern? What does that really look like?
Yeah, it's like when you register to UN, United Nations office, they take your interview and then they put you in a process. Then you will accept as an asylum seeker or not. After you got asylum seeker, and then you have to wait for a third country for resettlement to receive you as a refugee. That part is very hard. You have to wait for a long time that some country will accept you. And during that time, you have to find your job. You have to do whatever you want to do normally, like you accept that country as your country and learn your language and their culture and suggest to the country, adjust to the country, sorry, and live. Yeah, live as a normal people. Yeah, of course, it's not easy while you're waiting, but for me personally, it was the best time of my life was my refugee time, my wedding time, because I have a free time to spend time with the Lord, and I have free time to share gospel with people. Like, and I meet a lot of refugee and the campus that people need to hear about God. That was my best time that I experienced during those 8 years.
Wow.
That's wonderful. Let me ask a little bit of a difficult question. Here in America, as you know, as you have heard and read and maybe experienced, a lot of Americans, many Americans, some Christians are very distrustful of refugees from Afghanistan because of the predominant religion there being Islamic, being Muslim. And what do you have to say to those who have this underlying distrust of refugees?
No. Can you let us?
The issue is that Americans are fearful of Muslims, and they're fearful. Many of them are fearful of people from Afghanistan, and they think of war, and they think of Islam and radicals. So, how do you see Americans experiencing that, or Afghans experiencing that? And
for me personally, American people is the most friendly people among refugee people. Okay. Especially I have friends, they share their experience whilst they arrive in America, and they're really been loved by American people. And of course, there is a few people that they reject them. They said, "Oh, you're Muslim and you're different. I'm different." But most of the American people, they really did a very good job, and they have reached many Afghan refugees. Of course, I've been to Australia and Europe, and comparing America with Australia with Europe, that America did very good job.
Americans are more hospitable and they're more welcoming. 2 weeks ago, I took a refugee family, to register their kids in school. And so this family, some of the kids, they didn't have clothes, a uniform. And then an older lady showed up there. We didn't know that lady, and she didn't know us. And then as soon as I introduced myself and introduced the family, and then one of the teachers told the older lady that this family, we are registering them in school, but they don't have uniform. They have to come without uniform for a while, and then they can, after when they buy the uniform, they can wear it. And then this older lady, immediately in the rain, she ran to the store, and then she bought a bunch of new clothes for these kids. And I was very shocked and surprised. Like, she doesn't know us and we don't know her, but her heart for serving and her heart was very inspired me. And I was very amazed how she loved this family, and she just ran and bought some new clothes for the family.
That's beautiful. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, let's jump to Afghanistan and what's happening there. Could y'all help us just know what you know and the context that you all have, and what, the headlines keep talking about the humanitarian crisis and how it's just getting worse and worse and worse. Is that accurate? What information do you all have?
Well, Latif is in touch with people in Afghanistan every day. And Benafsha also has family members that are in crisis and in transition. And I'm in touch with people that are helping Afghans just survive and helping them move from place to place when they are in danger, because the Taliban there's fighting between the Taliban forces. And so that's created more danger, and particularly for the ethnic minorities, for single women, for vulnerable people like different ethnic groups, and particularly for Christians. And so, it's the fear of retaliation for your race or for your religion is an everyday reality. And now the possibility and the likelihood of starvation is very real.
And also many things that we have been in contact with people inside Afghanistan. Many of those things we cannot hear to news. On news, like a lot of better, like hear that we can, Afghanistan is getting better, but it actually is not the way we hear from news. But yeah, it's getting worse. And Taliban try to, find more people, especially, Christian. And we just like two friends, like 2 weeks ago, they just released from jail, and they were in jail with Taliban and for 83 days. And that was a very hard time for them.
How can we best pray for those who are being persecuted in Afghanistan?
Yeah, I think one thing we need to pray, if you've read Nick Ripken's book on the insanity of God, he talks about the sort of the phenomenon of people under persecution. Often what we want to pray is God release them, give them safety, give them security. Many times the true devoted followers of Jesus, they ask us to pray, Lord, help me to be found faithful. Help me not to be weak in my faith, but help me to be bold in my witness and give me perseverance. And so I think we have to honor that request of people under persecution, that we need to pray for their boldness, for their faithfulness, and we need to pray for the church to advance in the midst of this. We know that the gospel advances under persecution. We know that, in your radio programs, your television programs, and your Facebook Live programs, you guys are hearing so many people that are wanting to know about Jesus.
Exactly. Since August 15, for 3 months, we get 60, 70, 50 calls from Afghanistan. And then, a lot of them, they want to know about Christ. Then they want to know about Jesus. And that's great. It's amazing, and the other side is suffering and persecution. And they see that why, this Christian are persecuted and they're suffering, but they still keep following Jesus. And they're curious. They want to know about Jesus.
Tell us a little more about your media programs that you're offering.
Yeah, our media program is Saturday and Monday, Wednesday and Tuesday, Thursday, 4 days, 5 days a week. It's specifically 4 days a week. It's specifically for Persian, Farsi speaker, Dari speaker. And then Wednesday program is for Urdu, for Pakistan and India. We do broadcast and also through YouTube and Facebook. And also we have our information there, our WhatsApp and our email and our messenger, that we allow people to contact us, and which is great that we get a very good response from them. And we really need more worker,
More laborers,
more laborers
to do follow-up. We
to
have
below
so
follow up
many
with them.
responses. We need help with follow-up.
Yeah.
What's
that
what's the
something-
website?
Is that something volunteers can do?
The Afghan Christian TV.
Afghan Christian TV. Okay.
And the follow-up, is that something volunteers can do, people could help with, or do you need, is that a staffing situation? How does that work?
The following up is we need like a Dari speaker and Pashto speaker to speak with them and talk to them
Yes.
and chat with them.
Yes.
Which is be praying for.
Yeah, we're praying for the right laborers, the right partners.
Yeah, a lot of them they text and then they ask tons of questions from the Bible. Some of them that they have heard a little bit, but they don't have a lot. They don't know a lot from the Bible. They have questions, and so we need somebody who is more expert to answer their questions. And we have some people that they contact, and they're trying to debate and argue with us, but we need somebody to deal with all those people.
I think for these two, they are so busy producing these programs, and also Latif is he's been asked to lead an online church, and he has a group of leaders, Afghan leaders from around the world, that they meet once a week by Zoom or by WhatsApp group, and then also just trying to share the love of Christ here with refugees that are arriving is a daily event as we visit homes and respond to needs. So we just need about 3 or 4 more of these two.
Well, that made me think too, as different people come into your midst and you start serving them and ministering to them, the ones that have been in some type of jail situation, prison situation, I'm sure there's some trauma that's involved in all of that too. So do you offer counseling, or how do you help work through the traumatic parts of all of their journey?
Well, there are some trauma healing ministries that are available, and some like Benafsha and some of our team have been through the trauma healing that it has been hosted out of Franklin, Tennessee, a church there, and the American Bible Society has also created some trauma healing training, and so the challenge is finding people that are trained, who speak the Afghan languages, who are able to do that in their culture, and then just adapting it to their culture, because many Afghans they're not used to sharing their deepest wounds. It's maybe viewed as shameful to share their deepest wounds. They're supposed to put on a good front and not really reveal themselves. And so breaking through the cultural barriers and finding that woman to woman sharing time and man to man sharing time where they can truly be transparent. That's a cultural barrier. It's also a spiritual battle that requires lots of time and prayer.
I'm curious about, you had mentioned being in jail. Just what is that like? What is Taliban jail? What does that look like?
Of course, the jail is different in America.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what kind of jail they made it now, but the things that my friend he said that they put us a very dark room, and which is like very cold. There is no bedroom, nothing was there, and they used to come and beat them once a day, and they try to ask them, who else are believer here? Who else why American try to convert you to their religion, and why you want to be a Christian? Why you want to, because you want to go to like America or Europe, to foreign country. That's why you become a Christian. And they're asking those questions from them, and they daily beat them. Yeah.
Have you heard of any...
yeah, I know that's not easy. That's not easy.
Very difficult.
Very difficult.
Have you heard of any jailers or any Taliban making professions of faith in Jesus Christ?
Not recently.
Not
No.
recently.
There are stories of Taliban that have come to Christ, and many years ago, 3 or 4 Taliban were meeting with a friend of ours, who they had been studying the Bible for over a year, and as they studied the Bible, they of course were dealing with all the issues of Islam and all the things they had been taught about Christianity and all the barriers. And one of the issues, of course, is, well, what do you believe about Muhammad? And so there's just so many issues that they have to work through. But eventually those men came to Christ. And so we hear stories like that of people who have rejected what they have found in Islam, and they've rejected other secular worldviews and like communism, and then many of them are left with, well, what's right? What is there left? And then they come to study Christianity, and that's sort of your story. You comparing and then found Christ.
Exactly. Like one of our church member in Memphis, he was one of the suicider. He tried to go and suicide himself among the other groups of Afghanistan.
One of the Taliban suicide bombers.
Suicide bomber. And he was in Turkey. He ran from Afghanistan. He went to Turkey, and some Afghan believers met them and shared gospel with him, and he received Christ. Now he's part of our church.
Wow, that's fantastic.
And Benafsha, your father tell his story and how you came to Christ.
Yeah, my dad, he was arrested by the Taliban long time ago when I was very young, and after when he got released, he left Afghanistan. He escaped to Pakistan, and then there he stopped practicing Islam. He said, if Islam is to kill or beat somebody without any reason, I don't want to be Muslim anymore. And then so he, for a while, he was not practicing any religion, and then until he met some Christians, and then those Christians gave him a Bible, and then he started to read, and he became Christian. He accepted Christ, and then they didn't share about their faith to me because they were afraid. And then I was young as well until we moved back to Afghanistan, and I found out about them through some Christians in Afghanistan, that they were arrested by the government, and I was following the news, and I found out that my parents are also Christian. And then and I was very strict Muslim. I rejected my parents. I said, why you became Christian? But thankfully they didn't force me to become Christian, and they didn't encourage me to stay Muslim. And I'm sure they prayed always for me until in 2012, when I met some missionaries I met a American missionary in Afghanistan, and she told me about Christ. And then later I accepted. After reading the Bible, I became Christian. And yeah.
Yeah, beautiful story.
Yeah. The power of getting the word out, then literally the word of God out into the hands. Wow. So I can hear that we need to be praying for theologically trained servants who want to help come alongside you, but they need to be able to speak the Afghan language. We need to pray for those still in Afghanistan who are suffering from all the different aspects, whether it be starvation or persecution or all of the above. What can churches here in America do that want to do something? They maybe are not close to an area that's going to be housing refugees. Along with praying, are there any other aspects that can be helpful?
Well, I know that Send Relief is partnering with Afghan ministry. Like, they're partnering with us, and been so generous in helping us get ready for the huge response. I know they have staff that are answering questions, so churches can call in and get some coaching. When they go to NAM's website, they can call and get some coaching on how to help with Afghans that are coming into their area. I got a message from someone in Florida who said 150 Afghans just moved in to the hotel across from where I work. And, they're asking for advice. How do we do gospel ministry among them? How do we help them? And so just making yourself aware of and going to our website, refugeememphis.com, you can find videos, interviews with Benafsha and other tools to guide them. So make yourself aware. Also, give sacrificially to help. I know that the people that are partnering to do this are not getting enough funds to do all that's required. So for example, we will receive through Samaritan's Purse $2,275 per Afghan that comes. And it will cost us probably $5,000 per Afghan to get them their visas and all their legal work. And that $2,275 will last for about 3 months for a family to house them and get them equipped and ready to work. So there's financial needs. I think you mentioned the prayer concerns. Pray for the churches that need to grow inside Afghanistan. Exactly. And one of the big burdens that Latif is raising among the Afghans that are coming out of Afghanistan is don't just settle and into the American way, plant an Afghan church. We need American churches to help Afghans plant Afghan churches where they are. Now, we love as Americans to bring them before us and make them like celebrities when they're followers of Jesus. But what we really need to do is help them to reach other Afghans. So become a partner with Afghan church planting in your city if you have that opportunity, and help them to connect with the local Baptist Association and knowing how they can help them plant a Baptist church there. And then they don't know they don't have the friends and connections that you and I have just from living here. And all those things are gifts that you can give in serving them. Would you suggest?
Let me jump in on something you said, Mark. I'm just making sure I'm understanding. All of this is toward a goal of helping the families become contributing citizens of the United States. It's not necessarily that the church is going to be taking care of them for the rest of their lives. It's just a transition period. Am I accurate?
That's right. That's right. There's really not, if you partner, let's say with Samaritan's Purse and you receive a family, the church is receiving money for that family for 3 months. Okay. They do need to help. They're going to have to find some legal assistance to help with all the immigration work that continues for their green cards. But the family immediately needs to start working. Within 3 months, they need to be paying their own rent and their own utilities. And so that's part of the job of sharing those connections and those opportunities that we have.
Yeah, another things about believers, when you receive believers in your city, like just ask them a simple question. What do you think to start an Afghan church here? Like that you came from Afghanistan, you persecute, and then you run away, and now you're in freedom. Don't let them go and free. Ask them, what do you think to start an Afghan church here? And let them start and receive them as a community, and warmly receive them and said, okay, we can start here in an Afghan church. We start in Kentucky. We're going to start in Georgia, and hopefully soon in
Alabama.
Alabama is close. It's not so far from us.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. All right. Well, we'll put all the links to the websites and different places in our show notes. And we just thank you again for updating us and keeping us posted. And please know of our prayers.
Thank you so much. God bless you.